Since beginning on April 11th, the defamation trial between actors Johnny Depp and Amber Heard has taken the country by storm. There's so much going on that it's nearly impossible to keep track of, from the viral clips to sensationalized headlines, but fear not, as we're here to break down the positions of both Hollywood stars and get to the bottom of just what the hell is going on. So there's a lot of factors at play with this one, and as we get started, it's important to remember that us lawyers have some occupational hazards, not legal advice. So what's going on with Captain Jack and the Aquaman star that has led us to the courtroom? A little bit of context is important. Well, the two actors began a romantic relationship in 2012 before eventually marrying in 2015. Heard filed for divorce shortly thereafter in May of 2016 and obtained a temporary restraining order against Depp after alleging verbal and physical abuse during the course of their relationship. Now, for those who may not remember, the couple's divorce drew headlines throughout as stories quickly began to circulate surrounding her allegations. In response, Depp asserted Heard was making false allegations of abuse to receive a quicker settlement. In August of 2016, only 2 months after filing the petition for divorce, the two reached a settlement in which the former Fantastic Beasts star agreed to pay Ms. Heard $7 million. And the couple released a joint statement saying that neither party has made false accusations for financial gain and that there was never any intent of physical or emotional harm. The divorce settlement included a non-disclosure agreement between the two, preventing either of the two from discussing the relationship publicly. Although the divorce proceedings were quick, they were far from painless, and headlines continued to circulate around Depp's status as an alleged abuser and the unsettled allegations made by both parties. This directly resulted in a series of lawsuits in multiple jurisdictions, including the current proceedings occurring in Fairfax County, Virginia. In April 2018, UK publisher The Sun published an article titled "Gone Potty: How Can J.K. Rowling Be Genuinely Happy Casting Wife-Beater Johnny Depp in the new Fantastic Beasts film," which prompted the actor to file a lawsuit in the British High Court of Justice against News Group newspapers, the parent company of The Sun, and Dan Wootton, the executive editor of The Sun, claiming libel. It's important to remember that this lawsuit was filed against a British tabloid in Great Britain, and the standard for libel is relatively different across the pond. In British courts, when a party brings a lawsuit, they are only required to demonstrate that the statements made by a publisher harm their reputation. The burden of proof falls to the publisher to demonstrate that the claims they made are substantially true, which is a divergence from the American defamation laws. Now, in the United States, while libel laws can vary from state to state, generally speaking, a plaintiff must prove not only that the statements made by a publisher caused them harm, but the plaintiff must also prove that the statements made are substantially false. Now, the case of Depp versus News Group newspapers was decided in July of 2020 in favor of the defendant. Depp lost. Notably, Justice Nicole writes in his judgment, although Johnny Depp has proved the necessary elements of his cause of action and libel, the defendants have shown that what they published in the meaning which I have held the words to bear was substantially true. During the course of the trial in Britain, The Sun and Mr. Wootton presented a total of 14 alleged incidents of domestic violence committed by Depp, utilizing the testimony of witnesses, including Amber Heard herself, medical reports, photographs, and other types of digital evidence, including the pirate star's own text messages. Justice Nicole found that 12 of the 14 incidents reported by NGN were substantially accurate and proven to the civil standard, further stating in his opinion that if Ms. Heard had been constructing a hoax, there are various measures which she might have taken, but she did not. Following the judgment, Depp's legal team unsuccessfully appealed to the courts of appeals, and the actor resigned from his role in the upcoming Fantastic Beasts film at the request of Warner Brothers. All right, now that we have all of that out of the way, are you still with me? Fantastic. The current defamation suit taking place in Virginia surrounds another article, this time published in December 2018 in the Washington Post by Amber herself. In her op-ed entitled "Amber Heard, I Spoke Up Against Sexual Violence and Faced Our Culture's Wrath, That Has to Change." Heard platformed her experience in an alleged abusive relationship and the reaction she received from the public as a result. While never mentioning Depp by name, several lines in the article, he argues, irrefutably implicate him as the subject of the article. In February of 2019, Depp filed a 3-count complaint against Heard in the District Court of Fairfax County, each stemming from a theory of defamation involving the print edition of Heard's op-ed, the online edition, and the subsequent tweet she sent out from her personal Twitter account, not very smart, promoting the article.
Wait a minute, Mark. You just said Johnny lost. Why does he get to sue twice for the same thing?
That's an excellent question, and like all legal questions, I had the same answer for you. It depends. We call the principle that a cause of action may not be relitigated after the entry of a final judgment on the merits res judicata. It's kind of like double jeopardy for civil claims. Johnny Depp filed 2 separate lawsuits for similar causes of action, both being defamation. The important distinctions between these two lawsuits are first, that the UK lawsuit was filed against NGN and their executive editor for an article written by The Sun and published in the UK. And while it can be argued that the UK lawsuit stemmed from the same course of events as the ongoing Virginia court battle, the defamation cause of action claimed by Mr. Depp against the UK defendants has two distinctions that prevented him from suing everyone together. First and foremost, we have what are called jurisdictional issues surrounding the two articles published in the UK and in Virginia respectively. Because NGN and the named individual defendants are British persons and corporations who published an article in the UK under a UK publication, any claim of defamation should rightfully be brought to the British judiciary. The Washington Post article, on the other hand, was published in Virginia by a corporation that does business in Virginia and therefore has claims against it brought in a Virginia court. The clever ones of you might have already figured out our second issue, and that's the distinction of the defendants in each of these suits. In these cases, the subject articles are not the same. They are published in different places by different companies and with different authorities. Legally speaking, they don't necessarily have anything to do with one another. So he's not suing twice for the same thing. He's suing in two different courts for two similar but ultimately unrelated causes of action. Let's get back on track. In Virginia, slander, libel, and defamation are all covered under the same causes of action, and defamation can be broken down into two distinct categories. Generally, defamation is a false statement of fact published or communicated to another person that causes injury to the reputation of the subject of the statement. Further, defamation per se is when the defamatory statement involves defamatory words, and there are four separate elements to that. As we mentioned before, Depp contends that the article published by Heard in the Washington Post, while not naming him specifically, carries several passages that implicate him as a subject of said article. Depp further outlines in his complaint that Miss Heard continued to identify herself as a survivor and victim of domestic abuse publicly, in reference to her, quote, provably false allegations against Depp. On the opposite side, Amber Heard and her legal team have mounted their own series of counterclaims filed in August of 2020 against Depp, which includes their own defamation claims, alleged violations of the Virginia Computer Crimes Act, claiming harassment by computer. In court documents, Amber's attorneys referred to the lawsuit filed by Mr. Depp and the media surrounding it as a false and defamatory smear campaign against Miss Heard that has included false and defamatory statements to reporters, repeatedly accusing Miss Heard of being a liar and a hoax artist, and accusing Miss Heard of the crime of perjury. While both Depp and Heard have generated outswells of support from different corners of society, it seems to be apparent that the publicity of this proceeding has taken great strides in repairing Depp's public reputation, which I think we can prove with the endless reels of trial coverage over the past several weeks, which in a way may have been what Johnny wanted all along. Regardless of the outcome of the Virginia trial, the consensus after the dust settles is a court of public opinion. I think we can all agree that there's one thing we all need to get to the bottom of. Why you gotta ruin the sheets. In all seriousness, the public spectacle that has been made of this entire ordeal is worthy of a video on all its own. Okay, I had to interrupt this one because we're back in time just for the verdict. Unsurprisingly, Johnny Depp has prevailed in his defamation claim against Amber Heard for her 2018 op-ed. The jury awarded Depp $10 million in compensatory damages, which are payments made to compensate or make whole the plaintiff in a lawsuit, and $5 million in punitive damages, which are damages assessed to punish the defendant for their behavior or actions that led to the claim at issue. Interestingly, punitive damages for defamation claims in Virginia are capped at $350,000 by law. This results in the judgment being reduced to a cool $10 million and $350,000 for Mr. Depp. While Johnny certainly won the day, Heard was also able to claim a victory in one of her defamation counterclaims against Depp. The jury awarded her $2 million in compensatory damages related to comments made by one of Depp's former attorneys, Adam Waldman. Waldman alleged that Amber's abuse allegations were a hoax. The jury refused to award Heard any punitive damages. Representatives for Heard have already represented to media sources that the actress intends to appeal the decision. What do you guys think about the jury's decision? Let us know in the comments.